I never thought my life would turn into something that felt like the opening scene of a sad movie. I always believed my relationship was strong, steady, built on trust and small moments of care. My wife used to smile in a way that made me feel safe. She used to hold my hand like I was the only one in the world. Or maybe that's just what I wanted to believe. Maybe the truth had been cracking underneath everything for a long time, and I didn't want to see it. It all began when her friends planned a small weekend trip. They were always loud, always joking about something, always laughing at things I didn't understand. I never minded her having friends. Everyone needs their space. But lately something fell off. Their laughter seemed different. Their whispers seemed heavier. And whenever I walked into the room, they would get quiet in a way that didn't feel normal. But I ignored it. I trusted her. I trusted them. And trust can make you blind. She asked me to come along on the trip. At first, I didn't want to. Something in my gut told me not to. But she insisted, wrapping her arms around me like she used to, telling me it would be fun, that I worried too much, that everything was fine. I think part of me just wanted to believe her so badly that I said yes. The road was long, filled with their laughter, their inside jokes, their little nudges to each other. I sat in the back seat, staring out the window, trying to convince myself that I was just overthinking again. She barely talked to me. She was too busy laughing with them, too busy showing this version of herself that I didn't recognize anymore. I tried to shake off the feeling. I tried to smile. I tried to pretend nothing was wrong. But everything was wrong. When we reached the out-of-state rest stop, they all got out, stretching, talking about grabbing snacks and drinks. I walked into the rest stop with them, thinking we were all going together. I didn't notice the way they looked at each other, like they were holding on to a secret. I went inside the restroom for just a moment, 1 minute, maybe 2, and when I stepped back outside, the parking lot looked odd, empty in a way that made my chest tighten. The car wasn't where it was supposed to be. At first, I thought they'd just moved it. Maybe they were playing around. Maybe it was just one of their dumb jokes. But the minutes ticked by. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. 15. No car. No wife. No friends. No call. No message. I stood there in the heat, my heart pounding, feeling more and more foolish every second. People walked past me, living their normal lives, while I stood there stranded in a state I didn't know. My phone buzzed once. A message from her. A single line. You'll be fine. We're just having a little fun. A little fun. I stared at that message until the screen dimmed, my chest tightened, my hands shaking. I tried calling her, but she declined. I called again. Declined. I called her friends. Declined. Every call. Every time. Each rejection felt like someone was holding a hand around my heart and squeezing. I didn't know whether to scream, cry, or laugh at my own stupidity. How could she think leaving me in another state was funny? How could her friends encourage it? What kind of person does that? I tried to walk around, figuring out what to do next. My phone battery was dropping fast. I didn't have cash on me, just a card. And that small town didn't have many options. My legs felt weak, not from walking, but from the emotional weight crushing my chest. I ended up sitting on a bench outside the rest stop, staring at the ground, feeling like the world was slowly collapsing around me. I felt embarrassed, humiliated, abandoned. And the worst part was knowing that the woman I loved willingly did this, that she found amusement in my panic. An hour later, my phone finally buzzed again. But it wasn't her. It was a video message sent in a group chat with her friends. They were laughing about how I must be freaking out, laughing about how he'll survive, laughing about how he always takes things too seriously. Then I saw something in the back of the video, something that made my blood run cold. She was sitting close to one of her male friends. Too close. He put his hand on her leg like it was the most normal thing in the world. She didn't push him away. She didn't look uncomfortable. She didn't stop him. She just smiled. A smile meant for someone else. That was the moment something inside me broke. Not with anger, not with rage, but with a quiet kind of heartbreak that hurts more than any loud reaction ever could. I realized that this wasn't just a prank. This wasn't just them being childish. This was a sign that something between us had already changed long before the trip, a sign that she no longer cared about how her actions affected me, a sign that maybe there was more going on behind the scenes than I ever wanted to believe. It took me hours to find a way back. A kind stranger at the rest stop noticed how lost I looked and asked if I needed help. I didn't want to tell him, but the truth spilled out of me in pieces. He shook his head in disbelief and helped me find a bus heading toward home. I will never forget that kindness. During the long ride back, my mind replayed everything. The distance, the laughter, the whispers, the way she had been drifting away, the way she allowed someone else to touch her so casually. I felt like all the pieces of my relationship had been falling apart slowly, and this moment just revealed the whole picture. By the time I reached home, I wasn't the same person who had left. Something inside me had hardened. Something had become clear. When she finally came home hours later, pretending everything was okay, pretending it was just a joke, I didn't react the way she expected. She laughed, saying it wasn't a big deal. But it was. Not because of the trip, not because of the prank, but because of what it revealed: disrespect, dishonesty, cruelty, and something much darker hiding underneath. I didn't yell. I didn't fight. I simply told her the truth. If she could laugh at my pain, if she could enjoy my fear, if she could let another man touch her without hesitation, then she wasn't the woman I married. And I wasn't going to be the fool she expected me to be anymore. Sometimes the moment you feel the most abandoned becomes the moment you finally find your strength. Sometimes betrayal becomes a push you need to walk away from someone who has already left you emotionally long ago. And that's exactly what I did. That night after I left the house, something inside me felt both broken and strangely free. When you walk away from someone you once loved with everything in you, the first steps always feel heavy. You carry memories on your shoulders like they weigh 1,000 pounds. But every step I took away from her was also a reminder that staying had been killing me slowly. Sometimes walking away isn't an escape. It's a rescue. I didn't know where I was going at first. I just walked. The streets were quiet, the wind cool against my face, the world strangely peaceful for a night that felt like the end of something huge. I ended up at a small motel not far from where we lived. I checked in with only one small bag, a few clothes, and a heart full of emotions I didn't know how to sort. Inside the room, I sat on the edge of the bed and finally let myself breathe. The silence felt loud, but the loudness felt honest. For the first time in months, maybe years, I wasn't pretending. I wasn't forcing a smile. I wasn't trying to hold together a relationship that had already fallen apart behind my back. I laid down and stared at the ceiling, remembering the moments that now felt like lies. The laughter we shared, the promises, the small touches, the way she used to say she'd never hurt me. All of it felt like watching an old movie of a person I no longer knew. Sleep didn't come easily that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the video of her with him. Her smile, the way she didn't flinch when he touched her leg. It wasn't the touch that hurt the most. It was the comfort she had with it. The familiarity. That's when you understand things didn't just happen. They had been happening for a while. I woke up the next morning feeling drained, but calmer. Pain has a strange nature. It burns at first, then it settles. Then it teaches you something you didn't want to learn. I checked my phone and found 8 missed calls from her. A few messages, too. Where are you? We need to talk. You're overreacting. Come home. I didn't reply. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because there was nothing left to talk about. Her words had no weight anymore. A little later, she sent a long message trying to explain the joke, trying to make it sound like her friends pressured her, like she didn't mean anything by it. She didn't mention the guy she was involved with. She didn't mention the messages I saw. She didn't mention betrayal. She skipped the truth, like it wasn't even part of the story. That silence told me everything. People apologize for mistakes. They stay quiet about choices. I spent the day thinking about my next steps. Not about going back, about rebuilding my life. Betrayal doesn't just break your heart. It breaks your direction too. You start questioning your past and your future at the same time. By the afternoon, I went back to the house, not to talk to her, not to stay, but to collect the rest of my things. The moment she heard me open the front door, she rushed out of the kitchen. "Finally," she said, sounding more frustrated than worried. "Can we please talk like adults?" I didn't answer right away. I walked past her, headed to the bedroom, opened the closet, and started packing. She followed me. "Seriously? You're ending everything over one stupid joke." I stopped packing for a moment and looked at her. "One joke didn't end anything," I said quietly. "Your choices did." She rolled her eyes and crossed her arms. That reaction hurt more than anything. No fear of losing me. No regret. No guilt. She just looked annoyed that I wasn't bending the way I used to. "You're being dramatic," she said. "And you're being dishonest," I replied. She fell silent for a moment, then sat on the edge of the bed. "If you leave, we won't fix anything. Is that what you want?" I zipped my bag slowly. "We didn't break today," I said. "We broke a long time ago. Today just showed it." Her face tightened. She wasn't used to me being firm. I used to be the one who apologized even when I wasn't wrong, the one who tried harder, the one who loved more. But betrayal has a way of killing the version of yourself that accepted scraps. And I wasn't that man anymore. "If you think there's someone else," she said defensively, "you're imagining things." I didn't even argue. I simply said, "I saw everything." Her face shifted. The lies vanished from her eyes for a second. She opened her mouth to speak, but the words died before they came out. So she tried a different approach. "We can work through this," she said softly. "Couples fight. Couples go through hard times." I nodded. "Yeah, couples do. But couples don't abandon each other in another state for fun. Couples don't laugh at each other's pain. Couples don't cheat and call a misunderstanding." She swallowed hard, tears beginning to form, but they didn't hit me the way she hoped. When trust is gone, tears don't feel like truth. They feel like strategy. "This isn't fair," she said. "You're right," I replied. "It isn't." I walked to the doorway and looked at her one last time. "I don't hate you," I said. "I just can't live like this anymore." She didn't follow me when I walked out. That told me everything I needed to know. I went back to motel for a while, then found a temporary place to stay. I told a few close friends, not many, just the ones who truly cared. Real friends don't laugh at your pain. They don't defend betrayal. They sit with you, even when you're quiet. As the days passed, my heart started healing in small ways. Healing never comes like a sudden sunrise. It comes like slow daylight through curtains, one soft line at a time. I started figuring myself out again. I started eating better, sleeping more, walking outside just to feel alive. Pain has a strange way of clearing your vision. I saw my own worth again, piece by piece. Every now and then she would text me, "Can we talk?" "Please don't do this. You don't understand. I miss you." But I knew the pattern well. People often miss what they never appreciated when they realize they can't get it back. I didn't reply. One day she sent a long message, confessing more than I expected. She finally admitted there was something going on with the guy from the trip. She called it connection, confusion, emotional friendship. Words people use when they want to avoid saying the real word, cheating. She said she didn't want to lose me, but wanting not to lose someone isn't the same as wanting to keep them right. Her message brought no comfort, no clarity. Only proof that leaving had been the right choice. Weeks passed, then months. Slowly, life built itself again around me. I learned how to enjoy quiet mornings. I learned how to breathe without feeling heavy. I learned how to put my heart back into my own hands instead of someone else's. And one day, I woke up and realized something powerful. Being left in another state didn't break me. It freed me. Because the truth is, I wasn't stranded once. I had been stranded in that relationship for a long time. Emotionally, mentally, invisibly. That moment at the rest stop wasn't the beginning of my pain. It was the beginning of my escape. Now, I look back with a strange kind of peace. Not because what she did was okay, but because it pushed me to walk toward a future where love doesn't hurt, trust isn't a joke, and respect isn't optional. Sometimes life breaks you to rebuild you. Sometimes betrayal opens a door that was meant to close. Sometimes being left behind is actually being set free. I left her life that day. But more importantly, I re-entered my own. When I returned home after confronting my wife and her friends, I thought the worst part was over. I had faced their lies, recorded their confession, and walked out with whatever dignity was left. I believed the storm had passed. But I was wrong. The real storm was just beginning. For the first time in years, I slept alone in our house, my house, since I discovered I had been paying for everything while she enjoyed her girl's freedom. The silence was loud, but strangely peaceful. No sarcastic comments, no constant phone buzzing, no fake laughter on calls she thought I never heard. Just peace. But the next morning, everything changed. I woke up to over 40 missed calls from her, then a string of messages. We need to talk. You're misunderstanding everything. Please answer, this is serious. If you don't respond, you'll regret it. That last message told me everything about who she really was. I didn't reply. Not yet. Instead, I got ready, grabbed coffee, and sat outside on the porch as the sun came up. For years, she told me I was lazy, unmotivated, or too quiet. Yet here I was, finally feeling alive without her. A few hours later, I heard a car door slam. It was her, and she wasn't alone. Two of her friends, yes, the same ones who helped strand me in another state, stepped out behind her like backup dancers. Perfect. Exactly what I expected. She marched toward me, acting like I was a problem. Why are you ignoring me? Why didn't you answer my calls? She snapped. I took a sip of my coffee. Because I don't owe you anything anymore. Her friends exchanged nervous glances. They weren't as bold without alcohol and distance. The reality of consequences made people shrink fast. My wife crossed her arms. We need to talk inside. No, I replied calmly. Say whatever you want right here. She narrowed her eyes. You're making this harder than it needs to be. I couldn't help but laugh lightly. You left me stranded in another state for fun. I think I'm still being pretty generous. Her expression changed instantly, from anger to panic. Look, we didn't think it would go that far. It was a joke. We were drinking. You know how we get. Her friend behind her chimed in. Yeah, like, it wasn't that serious. I cut her off. Do you want me to play the recording again? The one where you're all laughing about how he'll figure something out eventually? They went silent. My wife stepped closer. Delete that recording. I smirked. Why? Worried someone else might hear the truth. Her voice cracked. Please, just delete it. We're sorry. We didn't mean to hurt you like that. The apology would have mattered if it came without fear. But I knew the difference between regret and discomfort. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry she got caught. I stood up. Look, the marriage is over. I don't want drama. I don't want her friends here. And I don't want any conversation beyond legal arrangements. Her face drained of color. What do you mean legal arrangements? I'm filing for divorce. Her mouth fell open. You're divorcing me? Over a mistake? A mistake? I raised an eyebrow. You left me stranded. You laughed about it. You cheated. And you let your friends treat our relationship like a reality TV show. She froze. The word cheated hit hard because she knew I wasn't guessing. I watched the guilt wash over her, slow, undeniable, heavy. Her friends shifted uncomfortably, avoiding eye contact. You can't prove anything, one whispered. Oh, but I can, I said quietly. And I will if you try to fight this. My wife's face trembled with anger and fear. You're ruining our life. No, I replied. You ruined it the moment you chose him over your husband. She suddenly burst into tears. Real tears or manipulation? Hard to tell. She dropped to her knees on the porch, begging, sobbing, shaking, putting on the performance of her life. Her friends tried to pull her up. Come on, this is embarrassing. Don't touch me, she screamed at them. This is your fault too. Now that was interesting. Watching them turn on each other was almost satisfying. After a few minutes, she finally stopped crying, and looked up at me with broken eyes. "Can we please talk?" "Just us," she whispered. "No yelling. Just talk." I hesitated. Part of me wanted to shut the door and never see her again. But the other part, the part that loved her for years, needed closure. So I nodded. Her friend stepped aside and left. We sat in the living room. She wiped her face repeatedly, tried to recover her dignity. "I know I messed up," she said, "but I didn't cheat. I swear, not really." "Not really," I repeated. "That's not the reassurance you think it is." She swallowed hard. "I mean, I was drunk. It was stupid. It didn't mean anything. I didn't want it to happen. And yet you still hit it," I said quietly. She nodded, sobbing again. "Because I knew it would kill you." "It didn't kill me," I replied. "It changed me." She reached for my hand. I pulled away. "Just tell me the truth," I said. "All of it." And for the next hour, she told me everything. The messages, the flirting, the hotel room she accidentally ended up in, the nights she said she was at her friend's house, the things she swore she would never do. Every lie became a confession. Every fear of mine turned into reality. When she finished, she looked empty. "I don't want to lose you," she whispered. "You already did," I said. "That version of me you married, he's gone." She cried harder, not because she lost me, but because she lost control. After a long silence, she asked a final question. "Is there anything I can do to fix this?" I looked her in the eyes. "Fix you," I said softly. "Not us." Then I stood, walked to the door, and held it open. "It's time to go." She hesitated, then slowly stood up and walked out the door. No screaming, no arguing, just silent acceptance. I closed the door behind her, and for the first time in a long time, I finally felt free. After my wife left the house that day, the silence felt different. Not heavy, not painful, just real. For the first time, I was sitting inside a life that belonged only to me, not a life built around her moods, her friends, or her selfish choices. But as peaceful as it felt, I knew this peace wasn't the end of the story. There were still consequences, loose ends, unanswered questions, and the truth I hadn't fully processed. I kept thinking about the years we were together, the moments I thought were real, and the trust one had built around someone who treated me like an option, someone who believed leaving me stranded was funny. Life has a strange way of forcing you to see what you were blind to for too long. I had ignored red flags because I loved her. I had overlooked her attitude because I believed she would change. I excused the disrespect from her friends because she told me they didn't mean it. But once betrayal becomes clear in daylight, you can never unsee it again. And I didn't want to unsee it. I wanted to finally move forward. A few days passed. I focused on work, cleaned the house, tried cooking again, and even caught myself humming a tune, something I hadn't done in years. But then came the message I knew was inevitable. "I need to come over. It's important." I didn't reply. 10 minutes later, she sent another. "It's about us. Please, I'm begging you." I still didn't respond. By the afternoon, I heard knocking on the door. Not gentle knocking, desperate knocking. When I opened it, she was standing there, eyes swollen, wearing the same helpless expression she had the last time she left my house. But this time, something was different in her eyes. Not guilt, not anger, fear. She stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. "Someone showed the recording to people," she said in a trembling voice. "It's spreading." I looked at her calmly. "I didn't send it to anyone." "I know," she whispered, "but someone did." She sat down on the couch, shaking, rubbing her hands together like she didn't know what to do. "Your friends?" I asked. She nodded silently. So the same women who helped her leave me stranded had now stabbed her in the back too. Betrayal has a way of circling back. Nobody escapes their own actions. What do they want? I asked. "They're blaming me," she said. "They're saying I planned everything. They're saying I manipulated all of them." The irony was unbelievable. "So now they know what it feels like," I said. She lowered her face. "I deserve it. I know I do. But I didn't think it would go this far." My family knows. My job knows. Everyone keeps asking questions. She covered her face and breathed unevenly, trying to hold back another wave of tears. I'm losing everything, she whispered. I'm losing you. I'm losing my image. I'm losing the life I thought I controlled. I didn't say anything. I just watched her crumble under the weight of her choices. After a long silence, she looked at me with eyes still full of tears, but deeper than before. Can you please talk to me? She asked. Not as a husband, not as someone angry, just as a human. Tell me, what do I do now? I sat down opposite her and took a slow breath. You learn, I said. You face what you did. You stop running from it. And you stop blaming the world when the consequences finally reach you. She swallowed hard. I never meant to hurt you like this. Yes, I said softly but firmly. You did. Maybe not with intention, but definitely with actions. The night you all left me stranded, you didn't care what happened to me. You didn't even check if I had money, if I had a way home, if I was safe. You laughed. And when people laugh while hurting someone, that's not an accident. That's a choice. She covered her mouth as more tears rushed out. I hate myself for what I did. I don't want you to hate yourself, I said. I just want you to understand why our story ends here. She looked up quickly, as if she hoped the ending had changed. Ends? You're sure? I nodded. But we can fix this, she whispered. We can try therapy. We can take time apart, but still be together. I can do anything you want. I'll cut off every friend. I'll change my life. Please, I don't want to lose you. Her desperation was real, not fake tears, not manipulation. Real fear of losing something she never thought she could lose. But I had to be honest, with her and with myself. You didn't lose me today, I said. You lost me the moment you decided your fun mattered more than my safety. The moment you chose someone else's bed over our marriage. The moment you destroyed trust that took years to build. She lowered her head again. I don't hate you, I added, but I can't love you anymore either. Not after everything. Her body shook as she cried silently. She wiped her face again and again, trying to breathe, trying to calm down, trying to not fall apart completely. I thought we were stronger than this, she said. We were, I replied, but you weren't. She closed her eyes, letting the truth sink into the deepest part of her. After a while, she stood up slowly. If I leave right now, is this the last time you'll ever see me? I nodded once. She inhaled sharply, holding her breath like she was afraid letting it out would break her completely. Can I hug you? She whispered. It was the hardest moment of all. I didn't want to hate her. I didn't want to be cold. Despite everything, she was someone I once built a life with, and endings do not erase history. So I nodded again. She walked toward me carefully, like she was approaching a memory instead of a person. She wrapped her arms around me, gently at first, then tighter, like she didn't want to let go. Her tears soaked my shirt, and I stood still, let her feel goodbye she never thought would come. After a long moment, she stepped back. Her voice was barely audible. Please, live a better life than the one I gave you. I will, I said, and you should too. She looked at me one last time, broken, humbled, human. Then she walked out the door slowly, quietly, and without looking back. When the door closed, the silence returned. But this time it wasn't empty. It was peaceful, clean, new. I walked to the window and watched her get into her car. She sat there for a few minutes with her hands on the wheel, crying. Then she drove away, disappearing down the street until she was gone from sight and from my life. That was the moment I finally breathed freely. Not because I won, not because she lost, but because I chose myself. And choosing yourself after years of being ignored, disrespected, betrayed, and abandoned is the most powerful freedom a person can ever feel. I didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, I was ready for it, without fear, without confusion, without being held down by someone who didn't value me. I learned that love is not about how long you stay. It's about how much you respect each other while staying. And once respect dies, love becomes nothing but a memory. My story didn't end with revenge. It ended with clarity. and that is better than anything revenge could ever give.